Hello, and welcome to another episode of the MOC Spotlight. This is Ven, and I bring you the creation of this week, The Rose, which can be found on Brickshelf, uploaded by its creator, username MuffinToa. Now, as per usual, before we get started, let me tell you about my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember, this is all based on my opinion. Now let's get this started. First off, yes, this is a very different MOC from what we are all used to seeing, and I can tell you right off the bat, I like that. It's incredibly unique, and I can't say I've seen any other MOC similar to this one, well, at least in BIONICLE. So, A+ in the unique department. That aside, it's a great looking MOC and a very accurate recreation of a rose. I can take one swift look at it and identify it as a rose, from the long green stem to the luscious red petals on top. Or sort of luscious. It's a bit small up here, unlike traditional depictions of roses, or actual roses. Roses are well known for their distinct appearance with all these petals all over the place, and this rose here is very minimalistic in that aspect. Not a bad thing, just a slight inaccuracy, but it still looks good. It might be hard to unsee the mask and the rock she had that it's comprised of, but if you can get past that, it's a good effort in attempting to look like a rose. The rest of the rose looks fine. Maybe a few extra thorns here and there would sell it a little bit better. Then there's this vase, which just looks perfect to me. I have no problems with it. It's a great design, and I really like the transparent blue masks down here used to represent water. All in all, though it's a fairly simple design for a MOC, it's handled really well, and the builder definitely made some clever decisions in creating it. Now, as far as the build goes, I can definitely praise the clever usage of parts applied in making up these really particular shapes, like the vase's curvature and the entire rose itself. Excellent part selection here, I really like that. I do, however, have a problem with the vase. I'm a bit skeptical about it being so open down here. Looks like these masks are just sitting here freely without any connections to secure their positions. Makes for a convincing appearance, but structurally this looks a bit cumbersome. Say you want to move the vase around to a different spot across your room. Nothing is stopping these masks from just free falling out and just taking a skydiving trip unless you held it a certain way. I think it could have been feasible to come up with a way to secure these masks here, either by connecting them all to the vase somehow or adding an extra couple of parts to block them off from falling. I get that the probable reason why the vase is so open is because it's supposed to represent a glass vase. And I really like that, I do. That shouldn't change at all, really, but I just think that this one small part over here could use a little more leverage. And one last thing to note, there's obviously no function or play value with this MOC, really. It's definitely been created to just sit and be stared at, which isn't a bad thing at all. I don't think that should be any different. I mean, it's a rose, what do you really expect? But I should definitely note that its lack of functionality will knock down the score a little bit. More on that later. The concept of this MOC is pretty obvious. It's a recreation of a real-life rose. The typical red rose you see just about anywhere, movies, outdoors if you go out there, etc., etc. I'll say this right now, that goal was achieved through and through. I really like its design and I love the vase. I think altogether this looks great. Personally, I would have changed a few things, like maybe add a few more petals to the rose to give it that more recognizable appearance, and maybe add a few more thorns, just to really emphasize and sell that idea that it's supposed to be a rose. It's already obvious to begin with, but I think it could have a little more to it. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little nitpicky. Now, I have pretty much nothing else to elaborate on, so let's get through to the scores, shall we? Yeah, this is going to be a short episode. So in terms of appearance, this MOC receives a 5 out of 5. I think this is a really great looking MOC, and though I might have added a bit more to it if I was building it, I have no actual problems with it. There's nothing I can point out that really takes away from the MOC's appearance. It's simple, it's very unique, and it looks good the way it is. In terms of the build, this MOC receives a 3.5 out of 5. Nothing all too crazy is going on with this MOC. It's a static creation that doesn't function at all aside from just sitting at your desk and looking nice. But hey, it does look pretty nice. And the part usage is really clever, so it's definitely better than okay, at the very least, you know? In terms of the concept, this MOC receives a 5 out of 5. Sure, it might boil down to just a flower, but it rocks that flower look. It looks exactly like what it was intended to look like. The vase is a vase, the water is water, and the rose is a rose. And this is all achieved through just a couple of Bionicle and Technic parts. I think that is a really great and impressive achievement by the builder, and an example of a creative, inspired LEGO creation in general. With that said, our final score adds up to a 13.5 out of 15. I don't think I can continue restating how much I like this creation. In comparison to the other MOCs I've reviewed, it does lack in functionality, so it's only fair that I score it the way I did. It just wouldn't sit well with me if I gave it a higher score than the other MOCs in terms of the build. However, everything else I think receives a well-deserved score, and yeah, that's that, I guess. I know it seems like this episode went by pretty quickly, but I guess that's because I really don't have too much criticism for the MOC. It's usually easier to say I like it than it is to say I don't like it, because there can be so many various reasons why you wouldn't like something. I don't know, whatever. Great job, MuffinToa. This is a really old creation. I don't know if you're still active in the community, but I hope you are, because I'd like to see what you could do with the latest elements introduced to LEGO. And as always, I encourage all of you to post your creations to our message boards at board.ttvpodcast.com under the LEGO Creations category. Doing so will permit you a much higher possibility of being featured on the MOC Spotlight sometime in the future than if you were to post it anywhere else. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.